Thank you for tuning in to Artist Expression with Alma Love. I am your host, Jennifer Lyons. Today we're having a beautiful show with a beautiful artist from the Bay Area, Miss Susan Kraft. Hi, Susan.
Hi there.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, would you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. My name is Susan Kraft. I currently live in Redwood City. I have been living in Silicon Valley for the last 30 years and am very involved in the artist community. I've had a brick and mortar gallery in downtown Palo Alto, and I have an online gallery, zippityart.com. I also have my own website for just my work, kraftart.com. And today we have 4 pieces from 3 different series that we're going to talk about, and they represent mind, body, and spirit.
Well, great. Let's get to the first piece.
All right. Okay, so this one is from a very new series called Expressions, and this piece is called Potential. What potential represents for me is the mathematics of the universe and how the universe works. I have a degree, I have 2 degrees in geophysics, so I'm very involved in the planetary physics. I keep track of it. I haven't been professionally involved in a very long time, but that is one of my loves. I've been an artist since I was a child, like most working artists are, but I became a technologist physicist in college. So I expressed that love through this piece of work and work like this. There's a giant V in the middle representing potential. So those of you who know about Maxwell's equations and potential energy might recognize that. For those of you that don't care about that stuff, but just love the universe and the earth and abstract art, you might just really groove on the fact that there's a swirling, massive energy, and it focuses on a center. Yeah. So there, if you look closely, you'll see equations buried in here. This is on a panel. It's acrylic on a panel. Like I said, it's my very newest piece, and it is a series that I'm working on this year in 2017. I will release it in 2018.
Well, it's beautiful and eye-catching abstract art. So let's go to, this is mine, right? Let's go to the body right now.
All right, that's mind, correct. Well, these are this mind. Well, you want it. Okay, so yeah, so this is body. So mind, body, and spirit is the series that I'm presenting. This one is called Lost in Love, and it represents the very first love that this young woman has had, and she's staring at a love letter. You can see the little heart down here. Now, she has everything a teenager would want in her room. And not only that, she lives in a mountain in the mountains. She's got this beautiful scene outside her window. She's got a computer. She's got a book to read. She's got poster art up on her wall of the first kiss. But she wants to experience her own first kiss. Yeah, this poster up here is Glimps' First Kiss, which is a very long painting. It's very famous. Most of you probably have seen it. Yeah. But she's just studying this letter over and over again. She can't believe she's got this love letter. Sorry, but she's got this love letter.
So she received a love letter, or she's writing a love letter?
She received one, and she is in love with the fact that there is this love letter sent to her, and it's it's that puppy love that's graduating into the adult love, and she's foregoing everything else, which we've all been there, right?
Yes, yeah. Most definitely.
So, and all of these things come from either my soul searching through my my quest in life, my purpose, or reflection back on where I've been and who I am. And I certainly have been through
yes,
some of these deep loves. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have a seat, and then you could tell us more about what you've been doing in the last couple of years.
Sure. Just the last couple of years?
Well, whatever you would like to expound on.
Okay. Well, most recently, like I said, I started an online gallery, which has been very interesting. I have been involved in tech businesses, online e-commerce sites, and database sites, and backbones. Early on, Cisco, and the whole evolution of Silicon Valley. I've been here for that, and I finally decided to marry my art life and art career with technology. Yeah, so it's a full-on e-commerce gallery, online gallery, which is very different than my personal website, which is like what I've done personally, where I've been, my bio, the shows I've had, the museum experiences I've had. So that is a little more personal. I'll tell you about that site and about what I've done that the site captures. So I've traveled all over the world for my art.
Okay.
Yep. I've had a business partner out of France, and she had her business based in Paris, and then together we had a studio in Chelsea, New York, and then I had a gallery in downtown Palo Alto called Art 21. So we were going to then go to China and do this entire global scenario, and then we had some of the financial collapse, and we decided, I think that's a little bit too much for me. I think I'll just stay here and focus back in Silicon Valley. And then after that has been, we've risen out of the ashes, and we've got these massive tech giants happening now that we all live in the middle of. I thought it was time for me to just turn my attention back to a gallery and have it modern, and here I am representing art in Silicon Valley. So I've been working on that, and it's been a lot of fun.
So are you solely focusing on art, or do you have a tech position as well?
Well, I'm the person that runs this art online gallery, and it's a very sophisticated gallery. So just like I did with my brick and mortar gallery, I plan on bringing new artists in. In fact, there's 2 lined up right now, a photography artist and another painter. And both of those artists were involved in my brick and mortar gallery in downtown Palo Alto. So they're doing what they're doing for now, and then eventually they'll be coming into zippity.com. Which also has prints. There's print on demand, and so it's very exciting technologically, and also just the way to reach more people anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Unlike having a gallery, it was very localized, and having a brick and mortar gallery gave me a great insight into the local art scene. I got involved in Silicon Valley Open Studios. I was on their board. I started a talk show here called Talk Art, and ran a couple of other groups, and then I was the president of the local chapter, Silicon Valley Women's Caucus for Art, and I ran that for 10 years until we decided that Facebook was more appropriate, but then having a local gathering, because now everything's going online. Things are just changing. The web changed everything, just changed everything. So I think that kind of encapsulates where I have been. So have you been to galleries or museums recently that?
Yes, I love museums and galleries. I have traveled to different museums down south in Atlanta, Georgia, and Houston, Texas. And,
beautiful.
but I like the fact that you are incorporating a bit of technology in your art. So with that being said, would you introduce me to your third painting?
Sure, love to. So this painting is from a series about chakras, and this particular one is the second chakra. It's called Accept the Vision. There's actually words in here. So a lot of art normally you would just experience it by looking at it and feeling it, but this one actually has phrases. Keep your ego out of your inspiration, out of your creation. Sorry, keep your ego out of your creation. So the creative, the inspiration comes through the top crown chakra, it's the voice of God or the other or your higher consciousness coming in. But when you get down here, this is the second chakra, and that's where your creativity juices are, and you can just feel it in your gut. And sometimes people, artists, any creative, will be so enamored with what they've created that they just stare at it, or they talk about it instead of going on to the next thing and adding on to what they've done. So this is a reminder to myself as well as to anybody else, but it's to keep moving. There's a yin and yang. Yes, the male and female energies, that when they are equal and expressing themselves through your own creativity in an equal manner is I think is the strongest art form when you're more balanced. Certainly, yeah. So I'll just leave it at that. And this up here is a little piece of heaven. That's what this is.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Give a glimpse of heaven up there, right? So I really, really like it. And it seems to me that this is like a lower part of your body. Is that what?
Well, the entire
Where-
chakra series has a sphere in the center of some sort of a square containing that spirit. So we all need boundaries. When you don't have your boundaries, you kind of feel crazy. So this represents the boundaries on that chakra level, on that energy level. Every single one of my chakra paintings has a deep red and a bright orange line at the bottom, which is the grounding energy.
Okay.
And the deep red energy is like blood and natural law. Okay. And the bright orange red is the man-made law. You know, so what community you live in. So in your community, you are not a cannibal here, right? You're not a cannibal, and you don't steal. So those are the rules that are man-made. Whereas the
And what color represents the man-made?
the orangey red.
Orange.
And then there's they're very real, and you can see here this is reaching down to make sure it connects to that, because you don't want to have art that is outside of the laws of the society you're in, because they'll ignore it or demify you. So the darker red, this color actually is the natural law, like gravity, or light flow, or the things that that will always be, at least in our world on Earth and in our close to the sun. So that's what those represent. Down here, there's actual clay pushed into the canvas, and that represents the Earth. It represents the planet that we're from. I mean, you and I are both Earthlings.
Yes.
We came from the Earth, and we'll go back into the Earth. And we're the walking part of this Earth, walking, talking part of the Earth. So, and this is the piece that kind of.
And this is spirit, right?
This is the spirit
Mind,
of creativity.
body, spirit.
Yeah, mind,
Okay.
body, spirits. This is the yes, exactly. And this particular one is the spirit of creativity.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's
welcome.
go on to the next one.
This next one represents the 6th chakra, and it's called Ascension. And this one here, you can see that the box is being pulled apart by an inspirational idea. It's actually coming down, it's expanding it and coming down, and the lines have been broken. So the rules have been broken. So it's because you're inspired, it's like, what can I do? And you still have them, but they're kind of they're a little bit off. So it gives you more freedom to go beyond. So for instance, even these two paintings, other people may not appreciate them. Some people don't want to talk about chakras. To them, it's offensive. Like, this is not part of my belief system, so they would not want that. But there's certainly a large population that does appreciate them very, very much. So. Yes, and there's the third eye. This is what this up here represents, the third eye, which is also your intuitive. That's where your 6th chakra is, where your eyes are, your vision, where you can see an idea. So you're inspired, and then you can see it, and then it drops down, and you can talk about it. That's your next chakra down, and then you love it. And then you love it, and then after that it drops down to your physical chakras, which is your money, work ethic, and your creativity, and then it goes to the ground, which is now real. So that's how.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's sit down and we'll talk about what types of medium did you use for these paintings?
The mediums?
Yes.
Sure. All 4 of these are acrylic paintings. And I use a lot of golden paint. That's a brand. It's actually somebody's name. Out of New York, out of New Berlin, New York, to be exact. There's a very fine paint brand, and they have other media that besides their paints with the colors. So, for instance, that's what a lot of that texture is from. In these two paintings, it's from the media. It's called medium, actually. It's just kind of like a paste. Do you remember that paste we had in 1st grade?
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that. Except it's not. But it looks like this white, thick, gooey stuff. Yeah. And you just paint it on. You can mold it and sculpt it onto your canvas, and it dries rather quickly.
So is that the last part of the painting? So you draw it, and when you put that medium on, is that the last part of your painting?
Before you put the actual paint on it, yeah. And then these two, which is interesting, these two both have gold paint. So there's some paint that has gold in it, and or probably not real gold, but it's like gold, and you can add it to your. That's the last layer is the gold, because then you have the nice shine.
Yeah. And is the third and the fourth one, right? You say it has the gold in it.
But this is the second chakra. Yes, the third painting that we talked about and the fourth painting that we talked about. Not to be confused with the second chakra and the sixth chakra paintings. So, right. So these two paintings went to China with me in 2015.
Okay.
I went to Beijing, and I had an art show. I was invited as an art exchange program at the Cultural Museum in Beijing in the Third Ring. So,
right.
At the Chaoyang Center. Yes, it was very exciting to go there.
Wow, I bet that was an experience.
It was. It was. So I took one other artist from my gallery because it was such a large space. I couldn't fill it all up myself. So the two of us brought 42 paintings that were already stretched, and many of them were larger than these two.
42.
42. We wrapped them up and put them in boxes, and then wrapped the boxes together, and it was after 9/11, but before I think before the energy crisis again happened, and so we were able to ship it as personal items.
Okay.
It was just overage. It was a lot of overage.
I know, 42 paintings.
Yeah.
So were there any other members of this and from the United States? You said you went to Japan?
No, China. Into Beijing. Beijing, yes. And no, there was just the two of us that went. There are many other art exchanges. In fact, what was really bizarre, you see coincidences that happen, and you say, are coincidences real?
Yeah.
Maybe now, how are they happen? There's another group that was being led by a Chinese American here in China, near Beijing, and we actually met up there. And we met up at a museum about 100 miles south of Beijing.
Whoa.
Yeah, and we hung out with them for the weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was cool.
They were there for an art exchange. They didn't have a show, but they were invited to come and visit museums and give talks and give presentations and so on. So it was very. They're very active. China is very active in exchanging art with people all over the world. Okay. It's a very high honor to be an artist in China, much more than in engineer. In fact, my very last luncheon, on the day before we left, I sat at this big round table with 5 other people, and one of them, he said to me, I wanted to be an artist. When I went to school, went to college, I wanted to be an artist, but I couldn't make it. And he hung his head. I had to be an engineer.
He had to be an
engineer. He was so disappointed. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you think about it, the language is very sing-songy, and their writing is with brushes. So they paint and they sing to communicate. That's my personal guess as to why they either that or it's just more cultured because it's an older civilization. Actually, that's probably it more, more to the fact.
So he wished that he had gone to become an artist versus an engineer.
Well, he wished he could have made it. He couldn't make it. So he had to be an engineer as a default. Whereas I did the opposite.
Yes.
I went to art school and said, I don't think I can make a living doing this.
Yeah.
I better see what else I can do. So I was good at math, so I went into technology and science.
So tell me a little bit, as a young girl, were you a starving artist or striving artist?
Striving. Striving is not a good word to have. I started painting when I was very little. I started painting in oils before I started painting in watercolor. Okay. I was 3 the first time I put an oil paint brush on a canvas.
3?
3, yes.
Okay.
I was just old enough barely to do it. I remember finger painting when I was 2, but then I just graduated right into oil painting. My father had a studio, and he was a painter.
Okay, so yeah.
I was not a 3-year-old genius.
Yeah.
No, it was all set up for me, so I just moved right in. I remember putting my hands into coffee cans full of turpentine. I'm sure they were just this big, but to me there were these giant barrels because my hand would go all the way up to here, and to get the paint off because that was you're kind of messy as a kid.
Ooh.
and I had oil paint all over me.
But you were having fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. The smell of turpentine is, and cigarettes my father smoked. So turpentine and cigarettes to me is like baked bread to most other people. That's home, that's
Oh,
home,
really?
people. Cigarettes and turpentine.
Doesn't sound like a good mix to me, but
Well, he didn't put the cigarettes on the
No.
turpentine, but yeah, you've seen many artists with their
Yeah.
cigarettes and
Yes.
their paints. Yeah, sure.
yeah. Well, that's great to hear that you got it honestly from your dad.
Absolutely.
Do you have any siblings? Were they doing the same thing?
My sister, she could draw. I remember seeing drawings of her. She's older than me, and she just didn't go that way. She followed my mother's footsteps, which was to do other things, not art. So it was more medical office type stuff. So she liked, and they do. So I had many other relatives in my family on both sides. That was my father, my mother's side as well. There were some artists as well. So that showed in the country. So I don't think anyone has devoted their life in my family. No one has devoted their life to art as much as I have. So I have I live in a 2-story house, and the bottom half of my house is my studio. There's a guest room, and there's laundry room, but it is most of it is my studio, and I host a what's called a Sunday salon.
Okay.
Every fourth Sunday, artists come. Writers, musicians, any kind of art, any type of creative comes, and we talk about their work.
Wow.
So that's
great passion. Yeah.
yeah. Well, the community of art, you need each other
Yes.
to keep going. You can't just do this in isolation. I mean, you do paint alone, and you need to be able to focus and to get your feelings and emotions onto canvas, or whatever you're using. But then you need to get together with other people to talk about the muse
Yes.
and how it relates to the world we're living in today, and does it mean anything?
Yes.
I mean, you don't want to just do things that aren't meaningful. You repaint them. You squash the clay and do it over again. You throw away the song. You start over again. You don't want to create things that aren't meaningful. And
So what inspires you? A smell or situation, and when do you know it's time for me to sit down and paint?
Oh, sometimes I get an idea in my head and I can't get it out until I paint it. And it's just there. It's like, that song that gets stuck in your ear?
Playing
Yeah,
over and over.
yeah. That's it. So there's a vision, and it'll stay there. And I might be too busy doing something else. So I can't always paint because I just have a structure that I have to take care of other things. And I have to make room for that, or it just stays there. And the sound gets louder and louder. It's like a drum beat. And pretty soon that's all I can think about is I have to get that painting out of my head and onto the canvas.
Oh.
So it's pretty severe.
It's severe.
People say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're an artist." I go, "Yeah, lucky and cursed at the same time." And I don't say it in a negative way. And all artists will tell you it's the same thing. You can't not do it. I'm a mother. My daughter's grown on her own. When she was little, she would tell me if I didn't paint, because you're busy. I was a single mom. I was a single mom going to school.
Okay.
That was a lot, and working. And
That is
she'd
a lot.
say to me, "Mommy, you're happier when you paint. You're happier when you draw." Because sometimes I get too busy with life. And so your kid is the one that watches you and studies you.
Yes.
And
they
will give
know
you
more
feedback.
than we give them credit for, right?
They are your biggest fan and your biggest critic.
Critic, yes.
And so she critiqued me pretty early in her life. She was 3 when she said that.
Well, that's good that you can work and make a living to doing something that you're passionate about. So many of us don't. We work that 9 to 5 all the time, and we're not passionate about it. But I see you're glowing as you talk about as you talk about art, and it's wonderful that your daughter recognized that in you and actually shared it with you. So you've given her something as well to do what you're passionate about.
That's true. I've always wanted to be a good role model for her. That was always in the back of my mind as I was raising her is how am I going to help her not only survive the day, with the situation she's in with me or at school or her friends, but how is this going to help her as she is launched in the world and she's on her own and she's not around people that love and adore her. And one of the things I wanted to do was to show her to remain true to your own passion and stay true to yourself. So you are so your own heart is happy as much as it can be in the world. You always have your ups and downs, but to stay as true as you can to yourself.
Well, it was wonderful sitting here talking to you.
Thank you.
And I must visit you when you have one of these social artist gatherings.
Fourth Sunday.
Yeah. And also, before we leave, I would like for you to tell the audience where we could see more of your work.
Well, kraftart.com, but you can also come to my studio, Sunday Salon, Fourth Sunday Salon, if you're here locally in the Bay Area. Fourth Sunday, not the last Sunday, the fourth Sunday.
The fourth Sunday,
yeah.
okay.
Which, if you Google my name and Fourth Sunday Salon, it'll pop up.
And tell them your name again, please.
I'm Susan Kraft with a K, K-R-A-F-T, like the food.
Yes.
And Susan, S-U-S-A-N.
Okay.
So Kraft Art, K-R-A-F-T, A-R-T.com, which is probably on the bottom of the screen, I'm sure, at this point.
Well, Susan, it's been a pleasure talking
you.
to you, and thank you for visiting us.
Oh, it went by so fast.
Yeah,
Thank
it did, didn't it?
you. It always does that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was wonderful. I'm loving your art, and I would love to see more of it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely come over.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Can I have a hug?